Okay folks, we're going to work on taking this front 32 tooth original crank set apart here on the Rover i8. Now you're going to need some tools here. You're going to need your famous 8mm wrench, I believe it is. Yes, the 8mm wrench. You're going to probably want a cheater bar, something that you can put over this end to help give you some leverage. You're going to want a couple other things. You're going to need your crank puller tool, and you're going to need your spindle removal tool. Alright, now I've already taken this thing apart once, but I'm reshooting this section of the video. First thing you got to do is break loose this nut right here on both sides. These are standard metric screws, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and when you get them out, like I've just pulled this one out, and I'll pull this one out here too, you will find that you now have your crank arms on the shaft. The crank arms are on a slightly tapered shaft, so they're on kind of tight, and that's what you got to break loose. Okay. Now the other one's the left side here is pretty straightforward. Okay, but this one, the right side, excuse me, this is all one piece. This, the cover, the gear is all one piece. It's going to slide off of the spindle. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove the chain here real quick and let that drop down. You don't have to remove the chain because it will come off when you get this off. But this right here is the crank puller. Now how you use it is you take this part of it and you thread it into and again, this is standard lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. The only thing that's on here that is not standard righty-tighty, lefty-loosey is going to be your pedals. Your pedals, when you go to take those off, I'm going to try to get this in the camera here. When you go to pull your pedals off, you take your 15mm wrench and you go towards the seat on both sides. Nothing changes there, and that is because the pedals are bolted on in such a way that they won't come off. But the rest of this is your standard righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Now when I would originally took this thing apart, this was extremely difficult to break loose. But once it broke loose, the whole thing came apart like that. Okay? It really was easy. And then what you ended up with is this. This is just a little, you can tell where the shaft goes here. Okay, this is your one front crank arm, and of course this is your other one. Alright, so that's said and done. Now you've got to take this out. Now this is where this special tool comes in. Okay, you've got to take both sides apart, and you start with the left side. Alright, now this thing doesn't go in very far, as you can see. I'll do it on this side. It doesn't go in very far, and it has to sit on there perfectly straight. So whether you're using your handy dandy 3/8 socket, whatever, keep that straight. Now again, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey on these things. But you want to take the other side off first, and there's a reason for that. This other side is what holds the whole thing in. There's a sleeve here like this, and this is threaded on both inside and outside. So it's critical that you take this one off first, because you won't be able to break this side loose until you take this side off first. Once you get it broke loose, you can pretty much take it out like that. Then you got to work on this side. Again, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This thing was extremely hard to break loose, but once it broke loose, the whole thing just spun out with my fingers like this. And voila, you have your TerraTrike standard. Well, actually it says BB 7420. It's even got what side is the right side and what side is the left side marked on it. Okay, here's your standard BB 7420. I don't know if you can read that or not. Yeah, I think you can. But left and right, it's indicated right there. This is your shaft. Alright, so you can go ahead and put your crank arms back together if you want to, so that you don't lose them in case someday you may want to put them back on. And voila, I've got my crank set. Okay, so I'm going to leave that sitting up there for a minute. Now this is nice and clean right in here. This is all set for the Bafang mid drive to go in, and that's how you do it. The biggest part about taking this off was breaking all this stuff loose. Once it was loose, it came apart real easy, but getting it loose was very difficult. I didn't have a cheater bar available, so I had to use a rubber mallet. And the key to the whole thing is keeping this tool straight on the shaft, or keeping your Allen head straight on the shaft as you're applying, you know, push torque that way to break it loose. Otherwise you can strip stuff out really easily. But I managed to do it, and if I can do it, you can do it. If nothing else, you can always take it to a bike shop and have, you know, pay them 20-30 bucks to remove it for you. Alright? Alright. Next step, let's start installing the motor.